As you can tell, I am not Dr. Satish Kumar. My name is Israel Jiang. 我的中文名字叫姜保真。I'm very fortunate, and it is my honor to have the opportunity to serve as the chair or anchor for this evening. This evening, we are very much honored to have a very important guest from foreign country. And not because he is from far away, but because he has a very unique wisdom about what? About education. I think all the audience currently in this room this evening, we are either students of this university or maybe professors of this university or some interested, concerned citizens from the local community. We do care education. And in Taiwan, as you can tell from the recent news, no one can agree on anything, isn't it? So about education, it's true. We do have different opinions, different wishes. We are always not satisfied with the education here in Taiwan in terms of getting enrollment and getting higher education. We are not satisfied. We quarrel, we fight, we argue, but we actually don't know where to go, isn't it? And we are very happy this evening we can invite Dr. Satish Kumar to give us, to share with us his wisdom about education. Dr. Satish Kumar is a president of a very small college in United Kingdom. He told me his college has only 40 students. 40, I'm not wrong. 40 in Chinese, 40. Okay, I'm not wrong. Only 40 master students. What do they teach them? Here, we usually think we teach you chemistry, we teach you physics, we teach you pathology, we teach you this. No, they teach them a holistic way about life, about the people, about the person, or sustainability of life. And so I should not occupy too much time. Let's all have applause to welcome Dr. Satish Kumar, please.
Thank you very much for your wonderful welcome and introduction. It's a great pleasure to be here among young people, and thank you that you can all speak and understand English. I am sorry that I cannot speak Taiwanese. I wish I could, but I'm very fortunate that you can all speak English. And this is my first visit to Taiwan, and I love it. You're a beautiful country. My mentor and my friend, after whom we named our college, was called E.F. Schumacher. He was author of a book called Small is Beautiful. So Taiwan is small and beautiful. And this is why our college, as Professor said, Schumacher College, is named after Schumacher, and therefore we keep it small, only 40 people. And the students live together. In one college, we all live together. And the professors live together. Like we have one professor here. Yes. And so we live together, and in the morning, we all get up, and together we have half an hour meditation. Before we begin the day, we start with meditation. And meditation is food for the spirit, food for the mind. Before you give food to your body, breakfast, you have breakfast with your meditation. Then we have breakfast. Once you have fed your mind and your spirit and your soul, you have breakfast. And then we, 40 people, we come together in a community meeting. So everybody together, and we say, what is program today? And so everybody knows what is going on. Then we have some spiritual reading. So students can choose. They can read from Buddhist book, a Taoist book, or a Hindu book, or Tolstoy, or Lao Tzu, or some great wisdom master. From there, everybody read, everybody can listen, and one person read something. Every day, a new reading for inspiration. And that sets the day. Because the whole day, you have something which in a subtle way, in a kind of subconscious level, permeates throughout the day. So you can work your day with awareness, with mindfulness, and with something, wisdom, which you have heard in the morning. Then, after that, we all go to work. A group will go in the garden, and we will touch the soil, we plant the seeds, and we grow vegetables, and we grow herbs, and we grow some fruit. And another group will go in the kitchen, and they will cook, they will prepare the lunch. And generally I will prepare once a week Indian dinner in the afternoon. So if you come to Schumacher College, once a week you will get cooking by me. Yeah, Indian dinner. And you will have opportunity to learn with me how to cook Indian dinner. So I have already asked the professor here that bring your students to Schumacher College and you will experience this holistic education, not only listening about it, but practice. And so one group will go in the kitchen, one group will go in the cleaning. So we clean the toilets, we clean the floors, we clean the room, we set the chairs for the classroom. Everything we do ourselves. There are no servants. Nobody is paid low laborer. That you are laborer, you clean the dishes, you clean the toilets, you make the bed, you clean the floor, and we are the professors and we will teach you how to do it. And you will be paid less. And I don't do anything, but I'll be paid more. Highly paid. No. In Schumacher College we say, we are all students of life. And life is not only about brain. Life is about life. All life. And so then, after 1 hour of work, all students go in different class. And then we have from 10 o'clock to 1 o'clock the class. With a little break in the middle. And then 1 o'clock we all have lunch together. And when we finish lunch together, one group will do washing up. Because washing up is as important as learning about Darwin, or Shakespeare, or Newton, or James Lovelock, or Gaia, or complexity, or chaos theory, or any other subject you learn. What is good of learning about Darwin? You don't know how to bake bread. What is good of learning about Shakespeare? You don't know how to do your dishes. So we say, before we teach you about Darwin and Shakespeare, we want to do cooking and doing the dishes. This is the holistic education. Now the word education, anyway, I finish the day first. And then after lunch, at least once a week, if not twice a week, we take our students out in nature. So we have beautiful hills near the college called Dartmoor. And I made a film about the Dartmoor for the BBC too. I called Earth Pilgrim. And I think it was shown in Taiwan many years ago. It was in 2005 I made the film. So we take our students to nature. Or we also have a sea nearby. So sometimes we take our students to the sea. And we walk for 2 hours. And there's one professor at our college called Stephen Harding. He does a deep time walk. So he will walk for 6 miles and say, in this 6 miles, learn the history of the earth. Of so many billions of years of the earth history. We teach that now this far we have come, this far we have come. And the humanity is only about this much. And the Industrial Revolution is only about this much, like a blink of an eye. So he does deep time walk. So afternoon we spend in nature. Learning from nature. Not only learning about nature, but learning from nature. There's a big difference between learning about nature. When you learn about nature, nature is there. like that plant there, away, and I study about it. The distance, the nature becomes an object. But when you are learning from nature, like you are learning from your professor, there is a relationship. Nowadays, even professors and students don't have much relationship. They don't know each other very much. They come to the classroom, they teach, and they go away. They don't even know sometimes the names of their students. So that is not very much even learning from the professor. So learning from nature, meaning having a relationship with nature. So not only your professor is your teacher, but also nature is your teacher. Nature is your teacher. There was a great poet and a philosopher and a painter, a musician, Nobel Prize winning Indian poet called Rabindranath Tagore. And Rabindranath Tagore started a school in India. And his school classes took place under the trees. And he will say to his students that you have two teachers. One, I am your teacher as a human teacher. But the other, the tree is your teacher. So learn from the tree. So that is the inspiration that I have. So that when I established this college, I said to our students that we are going to not only learn from humans and from books and from computers, but we are going to learn from nature. Direct experience of nature is an integral part of holistic education. And then students come back from the things, and then either I or somebody, we have cooked the dinner, and the 6 o'clock, 6:30, we have a dinner, and then after dinner, 8 o'clock, there is another session of some kind, light session, maybe some music, or I generally do what I call fireside chat. And once a week, that's my class. And I say in fireside chat, there's no subject. There is no one subject. Fireside chat is about life itself. And so you can ask any question. You want to ask about God, you want to ask about love, you want to ask about marriage, about sex, about falling in love, any question you want to ask about nature, about Gaia, about earth, any question. So we have fireside chat. And then there is a nice bar. I don't know if you Buddhists allow drinking, but in England, bar is very important. And so we have a bar, and then the students and professors and visiting lecturers, they can all go in the bar, and then they can have a little relaxed time, and then they can go to bed. So this is a kind of timetable of the Schumacher College. Now I wanted to start by this example of the college where actual holistic education takes place. And the education word in English is come from Latin. And the Latin word is educare. If you are Latin scholars, any one of you, then perhaps you can look up the meaning of the word educare. The word educare means to bring out or to lead out. What is already in, you bring it out. That is education. Education is not to put in. You understand the difference? Education is not to put in. Education is to bring out. Now, modern education is not education. Because in modern education, you put in. You think that this is a student. Student is stupid. Student doesn't know anything. Student has no knowledge. Student has nothing. So it's an empty basket or empty bucket, empty box. And so professor's job is to fill in, to put in this empty bucket knowledge, mostly information. So about physics, about chemistry, about literature, about agriculture, about whatever literature, whatever subject you want to put in. Now, that is not education. Education is to bring out. So, professor's job is to see what is the genius of this particular student. what is the particular interest of this young person who has come to me in my company? What is it that this person is really interested? What is this person who has some genius, some special gift? So observation of the student. And then there is a spark somewhere, something which through your observation you see that something is interesting this person has. And so the professor will try to develop that interest. And through that interest, everything will be brought in. That is the genius of a good, holistic professor. So professor is not an expert of one subject, one theme in a holistic education, but professor is expert of the student. You are not a professor of chemistry. You are not a professor of physics. You are not a professor of agriculture. You are a professor of the student. And the chemistry, the agriculture, the physics, the literature, the psychology, anthropology, whatever the subject is, only a vehicle to enter the heart and the mind and the consciousness and the genius of that student. So don't put too much attention to your subject, professors, but put attention to your student. The subject is only a vehicle, a way to enter the heart and the consciousness and the mind and the spirit of the student. So that is the difference between reductionist education which we have today in the world, all around the world, United States or Europe or Russia or China or India. Modern education is not interested in the student. Student is by the way. Professors are mainly interested in their subject. And we say that is reductionist education. And then when you are only interested in subject, what you do? A professor of physics will only teach physics, nothing to do with chemistry, nothing to do with biology, nothing to do with anthropology, nothing to do with psychology, nothing to do with theology, nothing to do with anything else. Just one subject. Professor is expert on only one subject. And then, if you are a professor of anthropology, then you have nothing to do with any other subject. But we human beings are more than one subject. We human beings are whole person, whole being. And in this whole one body, what we have? We have brain, mind, we can think. And we have two brains. What is called left hemisphere and the right hemisphere. So the left hemisphere, we have a brain which can analyze, we can rationalize, you can do scientific thinking, logical thinking, learning logically, and rational, reason. All that is left hemisphere of the brain. And the right hemisphere is intuition. And all great scientists, all great writers, great poets, Shakespeare, Lao Tzu, Confucius, all great wisdom thinkers, they start with intuition. Even the science, Galileo, Newton, James Lovelock, they start with intuition. And then they create a theory with their left brain. But our education is very much left brain. We hardly address the aspect of intuition. Then, so we have a brain, we have a head, and then what we have in our body? We have a heart. Education has nothing to do with heart. If you start talking about feelings, if you start talking about the spirit, the relationship, how you relate to, how you feel about something, that has nothing to do with education, modern education. And then what we have in our body? We have hands. Our modern education has nothing to do with hands. You come out of university, but you are more or less without any skill. No skill is taught in major universities. And if it is taught, then it's not a proper university. It's some sort of polytechnic or some kind of junior, less important center. Because you are not brilliant, you are not talented, you don't have a great mind, you are not great academic, so you are a bit of failure. So we have to do something with you. All right, we'll send you a polytechnic. Somewhere you can learn a few things to do with the hands. But not even there much hands. Generally you learn about techniques and technology. how to operate a machine, generally speaking. So our education, so I said 4 things. Left hemisphere brain, right hemisphere brain, heart and hands. At least 4 things in our body, major things. Our modern education is 1/4 only or mainly left hemisphere brain education. And we spend billions and billions and billions of dollars and pounds and euros and whatever your Taiwanese currency is. We spend billions and billions on one little left brain education. And all the rest of life is totally left out. And so holistic education would say that we need to bring left brain, we need to bring right brain, we need to bring heart, and we need to bring hands. So this is why at Schumacher College we say every student must learn to cook, to bake bread, to grow food, to make furniture, to make something, to clean, to look after themselves. And then you come out of this college, when Schumacher College students finish and are graduate, and then sometimes I'm asked to do a little graduation ceremony, and then maybe give a little final talk, and I said, students, now you are going in the world, what are you going to do? One advice I give you, don't go out and look for a job. Don't go out and look for employment. Go out and create your own job. When you are creating your own job, you are, and our college is about ecological, holistic, environmental. So we say, be an eco-entrepreneur or a social entrepreneur. So that when you are going out, you use your holistic skills, the head, the intuition, the brain, left hemisphere, right hemisphere, your feelings, and your skills of hands. Use them to create a new entrepreneurship so that you are not waiting for government or corporations or big business to give you a job, and that job sometimes is not satisfactory. You don't find joy in it, you don't find fulfillment in it, you don't find any great imaginative challenges in it. You have to do what your boss tells you to do. You have to do what a company demands of you to do. You have to do what rules and regulations of a BP, of a Shell, of a Sony, of a Mitsubishi, of a Honda, of a big company, what they want, and they want to make you an instrument of making profit for the big companies. They are not interested in you. Like professors are hardly interested in students, they are interested in their subject, or maybe they are interested in their salary. But I think lots of professors are very interested in their subject. They are very good with their subject. And they are dedicated, they are expert, but they are not enough, in my experience, even at Oxford, Cambridge, Yale. I've been in all these big universities, and I found the professors are giving much more importance to research. And I say to universities, and in UK I know, because in UK, if you are a university and research university, you get a big grant. But if you are a teaching university, only small grant. I said, what is important? Your students or your research academic papers? You write academic papers, hardly anybody reads them. You write academic papers, it's published in a peer-reviewed journal. Journal is so printed and put in the library, on the shelf, putting dust on it. Very, very little research. 98% of research is unused. 98%. But they get high funding for it. The government or UK government gives a big funding for research universities, and they have a high status. If you are teaching university, I think teaching is the most important. When you have 300, 400, 500 students in one particular subject area, they are the precious students. Your whole energy, you should come to the classroom, I say to professors, you come to the classroom and say, what a great, fortunate, privileged position I am in, that I have these wonderful young students to teach and communicate and interact with. You should feel privileged. You should feel fortunate, and how lucky you are that not only you have these wonderful young students to teach, but you also get paid for it. I will even go to teach to young students even if I was not paid. Because what an opportunity and fortunate occasion that you can go and be with young students who are so enthusiastic, so fresh, so new ideas, new thinking, new imagination, new creativity, and next generation coming to me. I am with them. What a great opportunity. But teaching has become low level of operation. And the research, where you are just sitting, and what do you research mostly? When you read academic papers, there are footnotes. If you have a 10-page essay, another 10 pages are footnotes. So you are recycling a lot of stale knowledge, which has been done before. But you have to give all the references. If there is no references, if there are no footnotes, then paper is no good. So you have to give references. And the meaning is you have to read all those kind of boring academic papers which are getting dust on the shelves in order to reference, in order to give reference to them. So my approach to holistic education is where lecturers, professors, students in real relationship, giving education of whole life, head, heart and hand together, and learning from nature and learning from life. So when you come out of your university, you should be able to use your whole body, your hands, heart and head, and intuition and imagination and creativity and energy and enthusiasm, and taking risk, being adventurous. How many universities really teach students to be adventurous? How many universities teach students really to take risks in life? Do not fear problems. Do not fear difficulties. Our university generally want you to have a very smooth and a cushioned, kind of comfortable life. So you go out and you get a nice job, if you are educated, and a good degree from a good university, you get a good job, big salary, and then a car, and a television, and a computer, and a wonderful husband or wife, and a mortgage in the house. What is that boring life? What a boring life that we are creating. This so-called cushioned life. I want young students to go out in the world and be adventurous, be innovative, be creative, take risk in life, and do something. I walked around the world for 8,000 miles without a penny in my pocket. And I want young people to go out of the university and do something like that. Climb a mountain, go out in the world without money, go without money, go walking, go hitchhiking, go bicycling, do something so that your soul, your spirit is resilient and strong, and not always safe, secure, cushioned job where you are just living a boring life. Our modern life is very boring, in my view. I've seen a lot of modern life in Europe and America, and particularly UK. It's a very boring life. I want adventure. So holistic education is education of adventure, a journey of adventure. And then holistic education is also a journey of liberation. It's a freedom spirit, spirit of freedom and liberation. So you are not carrying the burden of attachment and desires and greed and domination. At the moment, our educated people are causing lots of problems. You know, all the great wars that have happened recently, Iraq war, Afghanistan war. Who was the prime minister to take England to Iraq war? A graduate of very famous university, Oxford. So the problems in the world are created not by uneducated peasants, uneducated farmers, uneducated workers, but highly educated people create nuclear weapons, GM, wars, technology, which is destructive technology, cutting down rainforest, fossil fuel, global warming, climate change. Who is creating these problems? Highly educated, highly paid people. I'm being very frank to you and being candid to you to express this thing, because you are a beautiful small Taiwan, small country. You can lead the world in a slightly different direction. You can lead the world in a way which is more sustainable, which is more enjoyable, which is more well-being and happy society, which is more courageous, which is more adventurous, which is more creative and imaginative, and not just boring life that you go out and get a job, and get a car, and get a wife, or get a husband, and get a mortgage, and die. So I think a country, a small country, a small island like Taiwan can perhaps show the way. There is one country which is doing something on the lines of what I'm talking about. And that country is called Bhutan. Yes. You heard of Bhutan? Yes. Yes. Bhutan is a country, only country, which said our aim is not gross national product. We are not aiming for gross national GNP, GDP, gross domestic product. We want G&H, gross national happiness. Now, which country in the world, smallest country in the world, Bhutan, in the mountains of Himalayas, sitting there, and the Prime Minister is coming to Taiwan actually, former Prime Minister Jimmy Tilly, and I was his guest when he was Prime Minister.
To our university.
Huh?
He will come to our university.
Wonderful, you are very lucky. He's a wonderful, wonderful man. So Bhutan, you ask him about G&H, gross national happiness, led by Bhutan. So that is the kind of thing Taiwan can lead. Happiness, well-being of every citizen of Taiwan. That should be the aim. Not more economy, more economy, more economy. You know, in India, we have a tradition called chanting the mantras. So we say our mantra is Om Shanti, Om Shanti. Shanti means peace. Om means universal, universal peace. Om Shanti, Om Shanti, Om Shanti. So when I chant mantras, some of the educated people, particularly the ministers, government ministers, particularly the business leaders, and like our Chancellor Osborne in England, George Osborne, they say, Mr. Kumar, what kind of this flaky chanting of mantras you do? This is just useless. What you're wasting your time. So I said, but Mr. Chancellor, you are chanting mantra all the same. No, what is my mantra? I said, oh, I've been hearing you for the last 40 years, every day, economic growth, economic growth, economic growth, economic growth, economic growth, economic growth. That's your mantra. Which is better? Which is better? Om Shanti, universal peace, or economic growth? And so, I think we have to move away from this idea of economy ruling the world. It's the humanity should rule the world. It's the ecology, our harmony, our relationship with the environment, our relationship with the natural world. That should be the dominant and guiding principle. How we live well with each other, humanity. How we live with other religions. Like if you are a Buddhist, how can you live in harmony with Hindus and Christians and Muslims and Jews and Sikhs? If you are Taiwanese, how can you live in harmony with the mainland China, with America, with Japan, with Korea, with Hong Kong, with Thailand, with India, with Europe, all countries, all races? You are white, how to live with blacks. You are black, how to live with whites. You are men, how to live with women. You are women, how to live with men. You are old, how to live with young. Young, how to live with old. This relationship, harmonious relationship, that and harmony is the great principle of Taoism and the great principle of Confucianism in China. So your country and your culture, Chinese culture, is the master culture of harmony. But where is that harmony? There is no harmony in the world. There is no harmony among races. There is no harmony among nations and no harmony among religions. So we need to create a new ethos. So holistic education is the key. Because once you are out in the world, your brain is already conditioned. We have already brainwashed. And we go out in the world, and the only thing we are taught to do, why are you getting educated? Because if you get a good marks, good exam results, you will get a well-paid job. So we are conditioned to think, the only purpose of my education is to pass the exam to get a good job. Day after day, your university, your newspapers, your society, your government is brainwashing us, all young people brainwashing, that your life and the purpose of your life is to get a good job. That's the purpose our society teaches us. Purpose, the meaning of your life is to get a good job, and that's it. You have achieved the aim. You've got a good job. I think that is a very mistaken notion. We have to say that purpose of education is not to get a good job. Good job is by the way, but good living. There's a difference between good living and a good job. Good livelihood. The Buddhist principle is right livelihood, the eightfold path to end dukkha and suffering. An eightfold path include right livelihood. And right livelihood is that which brings you joy, which brings you satisfaction, which enhances your life, which enhances human life, which enhances natural life, which enhances community life, which enhances forest and man and animals. All those, that enhancement, that's a right livelihood. If your right livelihood is destructive, if your livelihood is causing, cutting down of rainforest, causing global warming, climate change, all those sort of things, there is not a right livelihood. So purpose of education is to find meaning of life and joy in life and be happy in life. That's why I praise Bhutan for taking this adventurous idea of gross national happiness instead of gross national product or gross domestic product. And so, that in a nutshell, in a very broad brush, what I'm speaking to you is very practical things. It's not, what I'm speaking to you is not a theory. It's not a kind of just abstract idea. So very practical things I'm talking to you is that how education, being holistic, seeing everything interrelated, everything interconnected. Our body is a great example of being a holistic, interconnected, interdependent system. It's a wonderful system, our body. How our brain, our heart, our hands, our blood system, our genes, our cells, our microbes, everything works in total harmony with each other. This body is a perfect example. Nature's great gift to the world. Each body, animal body, human body, tree body, is a great example of a holistic, interconnected, interrelated, interdependent, self-organizing, self-managing, self-correcting, self-healing system. And this body should be an example to emulate and follow this example. So a community should be a self-organizing, self-healing, whole system. A country should be self-organizing, self-managing, whole system. This is why I went to your parliament to support the students. Because I said to them that your movement is correct, because what you are saying is that you don't want to get involved in this global systems and globalization of treaties among, whether it's a China, a wonderful country. I have nothing against China. But Taiwan is an island. It should be self-organizing, self-managing, self-controlling, self-ruling, self-governing, whole system in harmonious relationship with China, in harmonious relationship with America and Korea and Japan and India and all other countries. So that harmonious relationship is good, but without losing your independence. So your body, for example, is that example. Your body is a completely independent, self-organizing system. You can think, you can feel, you can make, you can sleep, you can do everything by yourself, but in relationship. In good relationship with your neighbors, in good relationship with your friends, your relationship with your parents, your husband, your wife, your children, everybody else, and nature. So relationship is good, but if you merge and become dependent and become expecting somebody else to bring your livelihood, to bring your well-being and happiness, if they become unhappy with you, then you are stuck. So self-organizing whole system. This is the key hallmark of holistic approach and holistic education. And so this is why I went, and I was also given an opportunity to speak there to the students. And so I spoke for about 10 minutes. And I said to them that I want to congratulate you for standing up for this kind of self-autonomy and a local economy and local autonomy of a beautiful island of Taiwan. And I'm first time here, and I really love it, and it's so beautiful. And people, the culture, and the food, what you have, it's wonderful. And I hope that it doesn't get swallowed by this kind of Western modern kind of everything modern, and you lose your culture, you lose your identity, you lose who you are. If we lose your identity and who you are, then you don't need to go to Taiwan. Who wants to come to Taiwan to see American or Chinese or mainland China, I mean not Chinese culture, but or any other influences. So I want every person to be themselves. Every person, be who you are. This is why I say holistic education professor is looking at each student to see who are they, who is that student, what is the genius of that student, what is the gift of that student, what is the appetite and the interest of that student. And so each person is unique, and yet we are part of the web of life. We are part of interrelated, interdependent universe. So this is a kind of, in a way, it's a paradox. It's a wonderful paradox, and I love paradoxes. We are independent, and yet we are part of the web of life. And so this is how I think holistic education should be approached. I think I have spoken enough, and I have been very open, my heart, so please challenge me. As Professor said, that in Taiwan nobody agrees with anybody else. So please disagree with me, and challenge and ask questions. Thank you very much.
I think we still have maybe half an hour for a kind of a conversation between me, a very small person, with a holy person. And for those of you who have, maybe you have some questions, you may start to write. 如果你有什么问题，你可以写在你的单子上、墙上。Okay, before they ask the question, I would like to tell you how I thought about it. After listening your wonderful speech. When I was in California, USA, to start my graduate school there, my professor told me, you have these classes you have to take. But every Wednesday afternoon, you have to go to a nearby research station and drink coffee with the researchers there, okay? And in the beginning, I did go. But then I realized this doesn't look like education, because in this conversation over coffee table, they didn't talk anything about my research, my subject of study, just the random talk, movie stars, politics, on everything, okay? And occasionally we touched a little bit about education or research subjects. So I told my professor, I think my English was poor. So I didn't understand much. So why should I go? It's a wasting of my time. And he told me, Israel, this is a part of your education. Education is not just in the classroom, laboratory. It is life. And they are researchers. So talk to them. Maybe you will gain something from them. Okay? I didn't know much about it, but then after I came back to Taiwan, I realized this is right. Teaching or learning is not only happening in classroom or from textbook, but from life. I think that this is what your idea in England, right? I will mention another thing. I'm a writer myself, a literature writer. And when I was studying my PhD degree in forest genetics in Sweden, I met a guy from Korea, but he was an American citizen, US citizen. He came to Sweden, so he had this education with me, teaching me. One day he asked me, Israel, you are also a writer, right? I said, yes. And which part of your brain you write? I said, it's right. How about the forest genetics? I said, the left. It's mathematics, statistics. I said, no, you are totally wrong. You should use your right brain to study forest genetics. I said, no, this is for intuition. It's for art. It's forest genetics. It's also an art. It's intuition. It's not only statistics. And I also told my current students, it's not just the statistics, it's an art. And a couple of days ago, I read an interesting news from internet. it says there is a Pakistan-originated professor teaching in England. He is teaching in a university on what? On creative writing. Okay? We also have a similar program. Right. We also have a similar program in this Chinese Cultural University in Taipei. 叫文艺创作组. It's supposed to teach students to become a writer, right? But after his teaching for so many years, he told the reporters in the interview, he said, I don't think my students can be a writer because 99% of them are very stupid. They don't have a talent of writing. Then reporters were shocked. Then why were you in your department of creative writing? He said, I don't think that they really understand. They just found a department with a fantastic title. They come in. But they are not supposed, they cannot be a writer. Yes, I also think this way. I am a writer, but I am not from literature department. I have written many works. I understand literature, but probably be more than those professors in the literature departments. This is the problem of our education today. We have a fragmented education system. Literature department, chemistry department, physics department, entomology department, plant pathology department, our biotechnology department. Right? Education has become fragmented in specific area. You are supposed to be an expert on a very narrow area. Right? And now we tell you, you will become a writer. But writer is not trained from an from a study, not from a degree. If you check the history, all the famous writers, hardly any of them coming from literature department with a bachelor degree of literature, isn't it? So, but for this fragmentation of education, our students lost the interest of reading literature. They think this is for the Department of Literature, right? Because I'm a biologist, why should I read this, isn't it? So this is very, very sad. Our students, most of you, you lack the need, what Dr. Kushima just now said. You need a comprehensive way of teaching and learning. And this is exactly we don't have, right? Okay, if we see the symptom of the disease, okay, can you tell us, for the current situation, what would be your advice to us?
My advice would be that, first of all, your classroom should be small. Small is beautiful. Class size should be small. No more than 12 students in one class. Because if you are not able to form a relationship with your students at an intimate level, you cannot create a holistic education. Because holistic education is rooted and based in relationship. And relationship cannot exist if your classroom is big. Class size is big. So first thing, I think professors should insist to the management and the vice chancellors and all the other people that if you want proper education, make the classroom small, class size smaller. The second would be that move out of just brain education, like your professor said, that go out and talk to other researchers over a cup of coffee. That's a wonderful, wonderful advice. I think your students, you need to include other than what subject you are teaching. And so your students should be able to participate in the process of life. It's a life learning. And so create, in your university, I would say, create kitchens. Why students should not have good food cooked by themselves, and give more time to, and have a, in your university, create some gardens where students can touch the soil and learn by sitting under the trees. And so if you can create those kind of conditions. Without those conditions, context, you cannot change the fragmented education into a holistic education. You have to have smaller class size, more practical activities where students are learning to do something, to make something. You know what the word I talked about, education, the Latin meaning of education, to bring out what is inside, like a farmer brings out of a seed. Out of a seed comes a plant, a tree. So in the same way, education has to come out of what is inside the student. The other word is poet. The word poet means to make. Poetry, poiesis, autopoiesis, to make self-making. Maturana, a great scientist from Brazil, from Chile, I think Chile. He came up with, Varela, he came up with this idea of autopoiesis. So autopoiesis is self-making. So you are all poets if you learn to make something. But if you don't make something, you are not poet. And so your university, if you want holistic education, move out of fragmentation, then professors should make the case to university management that students should not only learn about one subject in their head, but learn from life, from nature, from working, from making things, from cooking, from making bread, from growing food, growing vegetables, small scale, just as a kind of 1 hour a day or a few hours a week or 1 day a week or something, but engage in life and not just brain education. That would be my suggestion.
Another thing I thought was reading. I'm a person very fond of reading. I like read books since I was young, and partly due to the impact of my parents. My mother got only an unfinished high school degree in mainland China because her family was poor. So her father couldn't support her to continue to finish a high school degree. So she didn't finish high school degree. But she likes reading. And then she became a very famous, well-known writer in Taiwan, and she passed away.
Yeah.
And when I was very young, very little, she told me there are books. It's masterpieces of works in the whole world, in the shelf. Read them. So I picked up one. Of course, I hardly could understand or comprehend what the book really means.
Yeah.
She said, it doesn't matter. Just read. This is the great masterpiece.
Yeah.
You read, and eventually you will find out what it is.
Yeah.
If you don't understand now, it doesn't matter. So I started to read, and I like reading. And gradually, I found that, oh gee, there is another world in books. Okay? I am not forced to read in order to pass the examination, or I am not taught to read so you, my son, to become a writer. No, I was just leading by my mother to a wonderful work of master works of the people, of wisdom, of human beings. But today, my students in this room or in many places in Taiwan, you don't read, isn't it? This is not just my personal bias about you. I read a statistic from the municipal library in Taipei. They did a survey for past year. Who borrowed books? Who lent books from the libraries? And they found mostly are from the two extreme groups. It's an end time. One is from the very old people. They are retired, nothing to do, so they went to library to borrow books. Another one is elementary school children. They are very enthusiastic about reading because the whole world is new to them. But from the age group of 15 to 24, almost nobody borrow books. And for the older ones, it's the same. They don't read. Okay? So this is the problem. We don't read. And we lost this connection with the human wisdom. what would be your advice? We don't read. This is a serious, not an accusation, but a statement.
Yeah. No, I think it's a very sad state of affairs that we don't read. And particularly, I think that if you are a student of science, then it is important for you to read books outside your discipline. So, a science student needs to know philosophy. So you need to read philosophy books. If you are a philosophy student, you need to read science books. If you are a science student, you need to learn theology, spirituality, religion. Einstein said that science without religion is blind. Einstein said it. He was a great scientist. And so science without religion is blind, and religion without science is lame. So, but what is happening today? Scientists think religion has nothing to do with us. Religions think science has nothing to do with us. So, we need to study interdisciplinary and transdisciplinary books so that we are aware of the other side of the story. And within that context, because things are related. Science is related with literature, literature related with philosophy, philosophy related with theology, theology related with anthropology. Everything is related. So my advice to students will be that you have, and nowadays also students are very busy, too busy. I think we have too much information and too busy on Facebook and Twitter and Google and all that. And that's all information. It's not knowledge. Most of the computer information, not knowledge. So knowledge comes in deeply, profoundly written books. Classics, Russian classics, Tolstoy, Dostoevsky, Shakespeare, in Europe particularly, in India, Tagore, Kalidas, Mahabharata, Ramayana, Bhagavad Gita, Upanishads, in your Chinese culture, Confucius, Lao Tzu, all these classics, we all need to understand them. And so I think your professors have responsibility about it. It's not only fault of the students, it's the fault of professors. They give too much time for this technical learning. And so professors should ask students that if you are my student of science, I want you to come back tomorrow having some questions about philosophy, or about anthropology, or about psychology. So professors need to encourage students, like your professor in Berkeley, California said, go out and talk to other researchers over a cup of coffee. That was a good professor who gave me that advice. Now the professors say, only study my subject, only my subject, nothing else. So I would say professors should encourage their students to go out of their discipline and learn about other subjects, and read classics, read beautiful books, so that your mind, your brain, your thinking, your feeling, your imagination is charged. Read poetry. Poetry is very important, because poetry makes your mind and imagination gets kind of enlightened or sparked or fired. And so I think it's a very great, sad story that our young people are deprived. On one hand, you have too much work for your subject. I think quantity and quality is very important, distinction. At the moment, our education has become too much quantity and not enough quality. So reduce the amount of teaching you do and increase the amount of quality of that education. And then encourage your students to go out of your field, out of your subject, and embrace some other subjects. And then have some seminars, some discussions. In your science class, you can have a seminar in philosophy, and in philosophy class, seminar about science. And so, I'm not a scientist, but I read Einstein, I read quantum physics, I read books about chaos and complexity and Gaia and system thinking. Oh, I'm not a scientist, but I'm interested. I'm interested in philosophy, I'm interested in literature. So, all of us need to be broadly read and broadly interested in every subject. Life is not about just one subject. life is about many subjects. So I think only advice I can give is to advise students, but also professors, to give more time, reduce the quantity of your work,